Welcome to Spain, Poco Poco. Good day, Tanya. Buenos dias.
Good day. Today we are starting a new kind of, what do we want to call it, of Poco a Pocos?
Like a series, a subgenre.
Like a bunch of little things that all are kind of tied together. So we're going to do museums in different cities, and we'll start with Madrid. So we'll sort of work our way through all the cities that have a lot of interesting museums, which is basically all of them. So this could take a while, but
Right.
Madrid's obviously the biggest one with the most, really. So we'll start there.
We will, and so Madrid has like 40 some museums. So
Are we going to list them
we're not
all?
going to talk. We're not going to talk about all 40. So you can sit tight in your cars or wherever you listen
I
to
was
us.
going to say
We're going to talk we're going to talk about just a few. So
Yeah.
let's start off with what is known as the Big Three or the Golden Triangle. And in Madrid, it really is a triangle. They're all right next to each other, so you can bing bang boom them all in one day, one afternoon if you want. And this is the Prado, the Reina Sofía, and the Thyssen. So those are the main three.
That's a lot of museum for one day, but yes, you could theoretically spend several days in one of these museums. But yeah,
Exactly.
If you're on a tight schedule, you could also hit them all in one day for sure.
Find out where the masterpieces are, say you saw them, and then go on your way.
Exactly.
Right?
And there's a combined ticket, I think, for all of them.
There is. There's a combined ticket for all of them, but there's also, you can get these like museum cards, and you can kind of decide how many museums you want to see, and then it's priced upon that, but it is a huge discount than going to all of them.
Right.
But it's like Museum Card Madrid, I think is what it's called, or City Card Madrid, something like that.
Yeah, I think they're definitely encouraging people to spend time in all these beautiful museums. So the first one, let's start with the Museo del Prado, which is obviously the biggest, probably the one, if you've heard of a museum in Spain, that's probably the one that you've heard of. And
Right.
That was founded in 1819 by King Ferdinand VII, and it is the main national museum of Spain.
It is, and it houses a lot of European art, and it dates from the 12th century to the early 20th century. And it's based on the former Spanish royal collection, and this museum has the single best collection of Spanish art. Wonder why? Maybe because it's in Madrid, in Spain, the capital.
So there's a lot to see, obviously, in the Prado Museum, but the main features, if we want to just give you a couple of things, is Velázquez, obviously, Las Meninas. There's Goya's black paintings, which are more up your alley maybe than mine, since you're a horror enthusiast. But
not gonna lie, I've been there, and the girls and I ran up to see Goya's Satan devouring his son, and we were all like, this is amazing.
Oh my
and we loved it. And we also did see the Maha paintings, the ladies. There's one where she's nude and one where she's clothed, which is on, it's like a Spanish soap and perfume brand, and my Auntie Vera used to wear that.
Really?
So it was so I remember that picture on like packaging in her house.
Oh my goodness.
So yeah.
So I mean, we can call this very classic art, very just the famous pieces, and El Greco's masterpieces, such as the nobleman with his hand on his chest, the Annunciation, the View of Toledo. So a lot of great paintings to see here.
Speaking of Velázquez, he had a lot of input into the museum collection. He brought a lot of he was responsible for like collecting, curating, whatever the word is you want to say, of bringing Italian masters to Spain. And now it's one of the largest they have the largest number of Italian masters outside of Italy.
Oh, wow. It is a huge museum. And as a fun fact, it was actually originally designed as a natural science museum, not an art museum. So I don't know what was in that then, but it is now a massive collection of art.
Well, I don't think it ever got used as the National Museum. Like it started and then
that way.
King Ferdinand came. Yeah, King Ferdinand came. Yeah, I think I'm going to use this for the art collection instead.
Seems like that was a good idea.
And we did talk about the price, but 2 hours before closing, you can get in for free. So if you only want to spend a real quick time, you know what you want to see, you can do that as well.
Right. That's always look for the deals at these museums, especially when you're in a city that has so many, I think, as well. And another of the big three is the Reina Sofía, the modern master, and that was founded in 1992 in an 18th century hospital.
Yeah, it's a beautiful building. Yeah. Not gonna lie. Yeah, it's beautiful.
That whole area there is beautiful buildings. I mean, it's hard. You just sort of turn around and it's gorgeous there. But yeah, all of them.
Right. and it focuses more on modern art. It's Spanish 20th and 21st century art. It has Picasso's. I never pronounce this right, and they even told me about this piece in Spanish class because she was all like, "You got to go there for that." I was like, "No, it's one of the Spanish books." They do those little sections about life in Spain. And you're supposed to learn a lot from that,
Okay.
about language.
And did she train
And it's
everybody how to say it properly?
and I that was 2 years ago, so I've lost it. But Picasso's Guernica, which is the
That's how I
war
would pronounce
painting.
it.
It's massive, and it's one of the
Yeah.
most famous paintings of Spain. They also have like Miro paintings and other things. Yeah,
And they also, as an architectural part of the building, they have glass elevators designed by architects in Ritchie. And I love glass elevators. It's not for everybody because you cannot have any kind of vertigo going on for these things,
right.
but I do love a glass elevator. It's a fun sort of extra, I think, that you can get at, in different places.
So the final of the big three, we have the Thyssen-Bornemisza. I don't know how you pronounce
Museum.
that. which many call the missing link. Now it is a relatively new museum until it was founded in 1992. But what it does is it kind of fills in the gaps from the Prado and the Sofia. It kind of fills out their collections. And it was actually started as a private collection. I mean, if anyone's heard of the Thyssen families, they kind of have some money. They may have collected some pieces. And what I didn't know until researching this was that it was actually housed in his like private villa in Lugano, Switzerland. And he was outgrowing it and wanted a bigger place. And I guess Switzerland said, no, you can't expand your house. So he shopped around Europe for a better place. And I guess Spain gave him the best offer because now we have their collection. I don't know,
Which
their
is
collection.
amazing to think that you can't expand the size of your house, which, I mean, to house more paintings. It's such a unique request, but it is over 1,600 paintings. So, that is maybe possibly too much for a house. I'm sure it's more now than it was then, but still. And it is the second largest private collection in the world after the British Royal Collection. So definitely,
which is kind of amazing.
That is kind of amazing. Yeah,
and we didn't talk about what they got in there. You can see some Van Goghs, some Monets. What I did not know is it's the only Caravaggio in Spanish public collections.
Oh,
so there you go.
Well, there you go.
Who knew?
Who knew?
Now, us. Now, everyone listening
now
knows.
We all know.
Now we all know. But there are other museums, right? Yes. So these are the tourist ones that all of your friends who've been to Madrid go to. And, now let's wow you at your dinner parties with the other museums you can go to.
Yes, and I think you want to try and go to some of these smaller ones because they have also, each of them have very unique things offering. So the Museo Arqueológico Nacional, that's the archaeological museum, was reopened in 2014 after a major renovation. So assuming it's looking very snazzy. And the star attraction here is the Lady of Elche?
Elche, I think, yeah.
A mysterious Iberian sculpture from a 4th century elaborate bust. So, these are the rest of that museum is all archaeological. So you're going to get different things by going to different museums and spread your wings and find other places in Madrid to go see.
What's also really cool about this museum is it has the exact replica of the Altamira cave paintings, which is like, I think people don't know. If you think of a bison painting on a cave wall, that's what we're talking about. That comes from there. And they closed those 30 some years ago because all the visitors were
feeding,
the hot breath was decaying it. Well, there was the decay mold from human breath and stuff. I wouldn't have
so disgusting. Thank you for sharing that tidbit that no one asked for.
You're welcome. So another one they have, which I love, is, who doesn't love some fashion costumes? So they have the Museo del Traje, which is the Spanish fashion history from the 16th century to today, which is really cool.
Love that. And they have the royal wedding dresses and flamenco costumes. So this is a super fun, very Spanish museum, I think. And I love the idea of a costume museum. Fantastic. Yeah.
Right. And obviously they have pieces from Balenciaga, Pertegaz, and Palomo of Spain. So,
it is fashion.
Spain is a fashion powerhouse, people.
and then we also have, there's also a naval museum, which is quite near the Prado as well. So if you want to try and hit something else when you're there. So the Naval Museum has the highlights of Columbus maps, Spanish Armada artifacts, but also a Juan de la Cosa's world map from 1500, which is the first showing in a map of America, which I think is a very cool element to see in a museum.
It very much is, which kind of leads us to our
Yes.
next museum.
For more American things.
The Museo de America, because, Spain did have their hand in conquering America.
A little bit.
So this focuses on the pre-Columbian and the colonial American arts of meaning Spanish colonial, not the British colonial. So, not your people's colonial version of America, right? The other colonial.
Was the time.
And it has things like Mayan codices and Inca gold and other kind of colonial religious arts.
Yeah. I think that's a very interesting museum for looking at Spain's relationship with the Americas overall, with objects and different elements and all different things. So I think that is something that is on my list to go see.
And what would any great city be without a natural science museum?
My
right?
favorite.
So the Museo Nacional de Ciencias Naturales is there. And it is one of Europe's oldest, founded in 1771. And it has what I think is the most adorable thing. Do you want to say what it is?
If you think they're adorable, I'm going to let you do it, because I do kind of get it, but not 100%. Plus, it's a skeleton. So.
They have a giant megatherium. They have a megatherium skeleton, which is a giant sloth. And, sloths are cute at any
But
size.
Maybe not as skeletons. I don't know.
And, of course, they have things like a planetarium and mineral collections.
Yes, and also some family-friendly exhibits and workshops. So these museums in every city are always great family-friendly museums, and this one is no different. And speaking of family-friendly, we have the Museo ABC of Drawing and Illustration, which is, I think, this has a collection of comics and graphic design and advertising art. So this is another private collection dedicated to drawing and illustration. So I think this is also something that can appeal to a lot of different people because of the fact that it's doing comics and advertising. There are different graphic arts and things.
Right. And the ABC is actually a newspaper in Spain, so it's their collection, so that's who owns the museum, so it's stuff from their history as well as other things as well, but that's who's that. It's not some one person's family donated. It's a company that decided to create this museum
that have over 200,000 items.
You can get through that in about, I don't know, hour and a half.
Absolutely. It's kind of unique, though. I think that one's kind of unique.
It is, and it's in an old converted brewery from the late 19th century, so that's kind of cool.
And I think the next one you should do, because this is much more up your alley.
This is up my alley? What are you trying to say?
In a way, it's not. It is not for the faint-hearted, and I am a faint-hearted.
Well, I don't know if it's faint-hearted. Well, I mean, honestly, I'm not a fan of these, because what city would not be a city without some sort of wax museum? And so there is a Museo de Cera, which is, as one would expect, it is a classic tourist trap with Spanish and other world celebrities molded in wax, and but I think probably what you don't like is the horror chamber, because if anyone's listened, they have probably figured out Tanya doesn't like
the rest of it. Yeah, I really don't. The rest of it might be fun and probably a good, selfies, Instagram photos spot, probably, because you've got all these, these wax things, figures, and
I think it's good for social media cred. Is that what they're calling it?
And I think my favorite is. It's a tiny little museum, but it is the Spanish Tooth Fairy Museum, which is not a tooth fairy as we know it. It's called the Museo del Ratón Pérez, and that is what they do here as a tooth fairy. So this is a double information Poco a Poco here, which is that's what they do here, is they have a little mouse, I'm going to call it, that comes and does the tooth fairy job. And that is so obviously a very uniquely Spanish museum that is in Madrid, and very cute
and very kitschy. I mean, it is chock-a-block full of stuff. I mean, it is. But for your little kids, you need to keep them occupied and make them go.
Exactly. And it's a cute thing to show that something culturally different as well, but in a very very cute way.
Yeah, so I think that wraps up what we're going to give you right now for the museums. But do we want to give them other tips? We had mentioned the Madrid City card if you want to see multiple visits on a discount.
Yes, very helpful. And also, you can always, of course, find walking tours, especially around the Golden Triangle. So that's something you can always get into. And also, there are many more museums. So definitely look up. And there are some hidden gems and smaller museums. And the smaller ones tend to be less crowded, obviously. So if you wanted to kind of do a little bit of like do a major one, but then do some little ones so that your whole day isn't lining up and with crowds, that's kind of what I would do.
Right. And also remind people too that, you know, a lot of museums are closed on Mondays, and some museums will have a different day. So I know here some museums are closed Monday and some are closed Wednesday. So if it's closed Wednesday, it might be open on Monday. But Monday seems to be a big museum closing day.
For
so
sure.
just check, you know, before you head over there banging on the doors.
Not sure if it's open or not.
Well, until next time, Tanya.
Until next time, until our next museum one, we'll do it. We'll pick another city. And if you have any cities that anyone's interested in, please let us know. We will be giving little tidbits on museums all around Spain.
Sounds good.
Ciao.
Ciao.
Thank you for listening to Our Spain Poco a Poco. Since you love us so much, please do go on to our social media and follow us and like us and subscribe where you're listening, because it really does help us to grow and stick around and do what we are very much enjoying doing.
And, give us a shout out on the social medias. Give us a comment on what you would like to hear us talk about. I mean, we like to hear ourselves speak, but we do want to make this, informative for our listeners.
Absolutely, yeah. You can comment on one of our posts, or you can send us a message through our Spain Facebook page or Instagram. So we would love to hear from you.
Yes, we would. Till the next episode.
Bye.